Hello, people, and we got to talk about some Bitcoin news. Now, yes, it's gotten past $52,000. That's very nice. But a little bit of a spoiler here. Genesis has gotten its permission, despite DCG and Grayscale's opposition, to sell its $1.3 billion in GBTC shares, which means GBTC will probably have to liquidate $1.3 billion worth of Bitcoin. Now, they said it's going to be over time. I thought it was going to be exactly like FTX, meaning that they have to sell immediately. But no, they actually hired someone to sell over time, which makes more sense because they don't want the price to drop so they can liquidate for more money. Because if you force the price to drop, obviously you're going to get less money to pay back creditors. And creditors want the most money back possible, obviously. So it's going to be interesting to see like what over time means. And that's the question that we don't have an answer for. Probably the most important question right now. Because if it's over a week, it's going to drop pretty big. If it's over a month, not as big. If it's over 6 months, probably not at all. If it's over a week, it's kind of like FTX. And this is a slightly greater amount than FTX, although there's more buying pressure right now. So even if we go over a week like FTX, I wouldn't expect it to dip too much below 45,000. And we would basically bounce back in the 2 weeks afterwards, just like we did the last time. Just now, we just basically are still bouncing back from that 38,000 to about 52,000, and we should hit like 60,000 realistically on that bounce back too. That would be like the second retrace before we bounce back up. And I don't know if there's any more big chunks of Bitcoin for any more bankrupt companies to sell. They do it over a month. I think what will happen is like we'll probably stay in the lower to mid 50,000s. Over the entire month, more or less, because I think that might actually offset Grayscale and Fidelity, BlackRock and Fidelity's buying pressure on the Bitcoin ETF. They do it over 6 months, the effect is going to be fairly minimal. And if the creditors aren't in a hurry to get their money back, the 6-month option probably would be the best option. But, you know, if you're owed money, you probably want it back soon as possible. So there is incentive for for Genesis to actually sell out quicker, but it's not going to be like FTX where they dump all at once. And yes, I do think the buying pressure will easily buy it back up, but not if they basically dump it all in the same day. So you could see like a couple of days of dump. If they take the quick option, you could probably see like a month of somewhat muted buying and somewhat muted upward pressure. If they go over a month, probably won't see much effect at all if they go over longer than that. So it's going to be interesting to see what they actually do. I am surprised the court ruling came down this fast because there was opposition from both DCG and Grayscale. And I thought it was going to take a couple of weeks for this to sort out, but they've sorted it out immediately. The other stuff they will be selling are the Ethereum fund, worth about $200 million, and the Ethereum Classic fund, which is like $30 million. Ethereum Classic is garbage anyways, so that doesn't actually matter. It can die and no one cares. Ethereum itself, obviously, they're only selling 200 million of it, which is like, 6-7 times less than the 1.3 billion they're selling on BTC. That will only affect the Ethereum price, but also Ethereum has a lot of FOMO right now because it's going into May, which it could actually get its own ETF. And I think Hester Pierce said she expects that ETF to pass. I'm not sure if that's true or not, but we will definitely see about that. So like the Ethereum FOMO could actually set off the Ethereum sale. But the Bitcoin $1.3 billion could be a problem. And I do think heading into the halving FOMO and some of the other news that's been coming out will kind of offset it, especially if it's over time, it will probably completely offset it. So Bitcoin obviously is the one that we're actually looking at. And the thing is, like, just BlackRock and Fidelity buying should offset it if they do it over a long period of time. Now, BlackRock and Fidelity absorbed about $6.5 billion worth of Bitcoin in the last month alone, the first month. Now, will they absorb $1.3 billion more? I mean, I guess based on common sense, the answer should be yes. But remember, when you first start an ETF or a fund, that's probably the best month you have. And the second month probably won't be quite as big, but I still think they can absorb more than $1.3 billion. And I'm not really sure if they're going to sell completely over the course of a month. So there's a lot actually in play here. So they decided today, which is Wednesday, and of course, because Grayscale's flagship GBTC fund, which converted into a spot Bitcoin ETF, began trading, they can actually freely trade those shares as well. However, there is an option to convert its shares into either Bitcoin or cash. Now, I don't really know if the SEC has any role to really play in this. I bet if Gary had a role to play in this, he would demand that it be converted into cash because he wants to crash the price of Bitcoin. Obviously, if they just convert it into Bitcoin, it's not really going to affect the price of Bitcoin at all. So but I don't know if that would count as like an in-kind redemption because like all the Bitcoin ETFs are just cash redemptions. So I think like if there's regulatory bodies involved, they will push towards the cash redemption option, which would really screw all the Bitcoin investors. I mean, long-term investors for us, it doesn't really matter because it's another 2 weeks. It's just an extra 2 weeks for it to pop up, pop back up, and it's a chance for us to buy even more. But this is all like speculative that they would actually need to cash out in cash and that they would actually need to cash out within a short time period because the longer the time period goes, the less likely it's going to affect price at all. So if you're looking for those lower prices because you want it to dip to 30,000, I mean, the 30,000 really isn't happening at all. That's just over. Like all those TA people that said like we're going to the low 30,000s or like 20,000s, they're wrong. It's not happening. But if you're looking for something like 45, 46,000, you really do want them to actually sell all at once. Because if they do sell all at once, you're going to get that price. If they sell over a long period of time, you're not going to get that price unless there's another external factor driving the price. And I don't really see another one. Yeah, there's the CZ lawsuit, and Binance might get hit because of it, but I think that's more of like CZ's personal fortune right now than anything to do with the crypto market. And I think like even if Binance started having trouble, we as an industry right now, I don't think we would actually go down a huge amount right now. I mean, Tether and USDC are a different story, but they have actually like US treasuries in their reserves. So I don't think the US government's going to go after them too hard. I haven't really heard too many voices actually wanting to go after Tether or USDC right now. So like the Genesis thing is the big thing we actually have to look forward to right now. And yes, they have gotten permission to sell, but they might sell over time. And I'm hoping they do more of an in-kind redemption or are allowed to do more of an in-kind redemption where they just trade for BTC instead, because that would not affect the price of the coin at all. And I think like Gary Gensler just put that cash redemption thing in there to basically spite BTC, the BTC buyers in the markets, because he wants Bitcoin to go down and he wants these liquidations like FTX and a Genesis to hurt, because why? He's a spiteful man. He does not like being pwned by Bitcoin, but pwned he will be by Bitcoin. Another interesting thing is like the XRP lawyer John Deaton is actually really eyeing challenging Elizabeth Warren in the Massachusetts Senate race. Now, it would be great to get Warren out, but we have to realize that district is incredibly blue. So you're probably not going to beat her in the general just because like this district is so tilted. But you might actually have a chance to beat her in the primary. Remember, just as many Democratic voters actually hold crypto as Republican holders. So if they can actually get a Democratic candidate that actually likes crypto, they will actually vote for him. So I think you actually have a better chance in the primary than you do against her in the general. A lot of times she just runs unopposed in the general because no one actually wants to oppose her in that district. She's got that district by like more than a 2-to-1 margin. So like running as a GOP candidate in that district is just not really going to work, and you're just going to get pwned. But if you run as a Democratic candidate that's pro-crypto, there might be more people to your side. Now, I don't really know what percentage of people actually hold crypto in her district. But if your other viewpoints kind of align and the only thing you really differ on is crypto, you might actually have a chance. Of course, Elizabeth Warren has a lot of name recognition, and that's something that John Deaton would actually have to get over, because yes, he's well known in the crypto world, especially in the XRP world, but he's actually not known in political circles, and most people are not actually crypto advocates still. There's like a poll that says like 25% of adults actually own crypto, but most of those people probably own like $100, $200 worth of crypto. So it's not going to make too much of a difference in your platform right now. But you would get all the crypto aficionados to actually vote for you if you were indeed John Deaton. And like, I think someone does actually need to challenge Elizabeth Warren in that primary just to make sure that she's aware that like the Democratic Party will actually lose votes over cryptocurrency if they don't change their policy, and especially if she doesn't change her policy, because there are plenty of pro-democratic congressmen already that actually that actually are liberal, but they actually really want crypto and the technology to spread because it's probably good for their district or good for their state. But Elizabeth Warren is pretty rock hard on the anti-crypto deal, and I do think she needs to have a serious challenger. So I hope John Deaton actually does this, because I think that could be really good for the crypto industry, especially if he manages to oust her in like a primary. So that's the news for today. Let me know what you think. Like and subscribe, hit that bell notifications button. Thank you and have a nice day.